Let's talk. Let's talk. Yeah, if the Lions lose to the Giants or they lose this Green Bay game, either one of those, it's over with. Especially either or, to be honest with you. Because if they lose the Giants, I mean, then they 6-5. If you lose to Green Bay, now you 1-3 in the division. You know, the only divisional game you won was with Chicago. So the best they can do is I think they would be 1-3. They would be 0-2 versus the Packers, 1-0 versus the Bears, and they lost to the Minnesota Vikings. So at that point, if they lost that Packer game, they 1-3 in the division. And right now, how many teams get in the playoffs? So you got 4 divisions, and I think you got 3 wild card winners. So reality, I see 4 division. I think the AFC West might get 2 in, and then it's 1 spot open. So maybe they can still slide in, but for the most part, if they lose this week's they both critical. Check out Detroit Lions Talk playlist. Thumbs up the video, share the video, subscribe to the channel. They both critical. It ain't no ifs, ands, buts about it. They both critical. But if they win and go 8-4, you know what I'm saying? Beat Dallas 9-4. I think the next couple big games that could be there, depending on Aaron Rodgers' risk, the Rams, the Steelers, and then you end off with Minnesota and Chicago. But they got to get through these next 2 weeks. I seen St. Brown brother kind of check him, Equanimus, about getting on Jameson. They falling apart. They falling apart. Once you watch this team, it's literally falling apart. Everything is falling apart. Defense is the one constant, but they've been falling apart since we got here. Emmanuel Mosley, Anzarike started off on the bad foot. Josh Pascal started off on the bad. I mean, they've been falling apart defensively since we got here. Now that you're starting to get that defense healthy, maybe you get Pascal back pretty soon. Maybe you get, what's the other dude, Davenport back pretty soon. Maybe you get Kirby back pretty soon. DJ Reader expected to come back pretty soon. Terrion, but then, afraid to come back. Yeah, you're going to hang your head on your defense. But offensively, if you can't run the football, it's over with. So it's falling apart. And the large part, dude, you could just see it. When they can't run the ball, motherfuckers dropping the ball, Laporta out. J-Mo, all he can run is an over route with Jared Goff. You know what I'm saying? David Montgomery, you know what I'm saying? He averaging more yards per carry, but they don't give it to him. They're trying to, and when you change philosophies, they change the philosophies, but they going against what worked. You know what I'm saying? What worked for them last year was, guess what? Let's get a lot of David Montgomery in there and a lot of Jahmyr Gibbs. Let's let Montgomery, let's let him, soften the defense up. And then we going to death by 1,000 cuts and one last big cut from Jahmyr Gibbs. They talking about fixing this offensive line. You can't fix it when guys in and out the lineup. You know what I'm saying? But like I said before, the premise of what they doing, they got away from it. Now, it's a couple things that's really happening with this team that you may not be paying attention, right? Injuries is always going to be the common thing with this team. They're going to stay injured. That's just an imperative. That's just imperative. But there's a couple things that's happening on the offensive side of the ball, right? I'm going to get to the major obvious one right in a minute. But when you look about it, defenses are taking the middle of the field away. With Laporta or without Sam Laporta. Now, Jared Goff, this is really never really spoke on. Not only does he have 2 left feet, he doesn't have the strongest arm. He's more closer to Chad Pennington than Joe Flacco, okay? So now teams want them to throw outside, and they're forcing them to throw outside the numbers. That's not Goff's forte. Whether it's down the field, unless it's a play. Just think about when he throws a deep ball, most of the receivers are waiting on it. You don't see the Lions do a lot of outbreaking routes. It's a lot of, deep crossing routes, over routes. You know, when you start talking about hitting that comeback route, he ain't got it. That out route, he don't throw a lot of that. That, you know, the corner routes, you know, he cool on them. When you start talking about when they start packing that middle of that defense, he can't throw outside them hashes. So what defense is done in without the run game? Now they've packed the middle of the field and say, well, guess what? You gonna have to go outside the hashes to beat us. And, you know, even though he's a great timing quarterback, but he doesn't have the arm to throw outside the numbers like that, especially in inclement weather. He can't throw outside the numbers like that. And that's one of the reasons why the ball goes into the dirt so much when he moves his feet. It's one thing not to have the mobility. He doesn't have the arm. Let me say that again. He doesn't have the arm. When you look at this, he has the worst arm strength of any quarterback in the NFC North. Every other NFC North quarterback has a better arm than him. He doesn't have the arm. So then he's getting older. He doesn't have the mobility. He doesn't have the arm. So even when he move his feet and you be able to throw a ball, guess what? When he move his feet off platform, he don't have the arm strength to really get the ball there. That's why I go in the dirt. But the main root of this is because they can't run the football. And one thing that's happening that I don't see talked about enough, right? Y'all wanted more Jahmyr Gibbs. They giving the keys to Jahmyr Gibbs, and what's happening to the offense? A couple times versus Philadelphia on it was 3rd and short or 4th and short. They give it to Jahmyr Gibbs. He gets Nathan. He got some power, but at the end of the day, they need to say, you know what? Let's get back to basics. Let's get back to giving the ball to David Montgomery. You know what I'm saying? Let's get it back to David Montgomery. Let's pound it in there with David Montgomery. And then, you know, we going to let Montgomery do his thing. We'll let playoff Gibbs. The second half, we do a lot of Gibbs and then mix in Montgomery. That's what they should do. One of the reasons they run game fell off because they transferring it to Jahmyr Gibbs. And guess what? When it's 3rd and short, 4th and short, they giving it to it ain't working. They need to get back to giving the ball to David Montgomery. Especially when you have issues on the inside. Montgomery can power through some of those arm tackles. He can plow through some of those them little clogs that Jahmyr Gibbs can't clog through. Therefore, when you pound it with Montgomery, no Diddy, no Kanye West, no Kevin Spacey, then you can sprinkle in Jahmyr Gibbs. But like I said before, they lose one of these next 2 games, pack them up. Y'all might as well watch the Pistons game with us. Pack them up. They lose to the Giants or they lose to the Packers, it's over with. But I just want to know, because I don't think they're going to make the playoffs. You know, they might make it, they might not. I don't think they will. When you look at it, the Packers, I don't know what's going on with Josh Jacobs, but you got the Packers, the Steelers, depending on what Rodgers, the Rams, and then you got Chicago. In Minnesota, I don't see it. At Chicago, and I believe you're at Minnesota, right? Yeah. I don't see them making the playoff. And I want to know how much fucking masculinity Brad Holmes got. I want to know how much of a man he is if they miss the playoff. Is he going to have the fucking nuts to do what Andy Reid did and go get a quarterback? Even if it's just, you know, let me get him and prep him for a year or 2. I want to know, like Joe, if he got the balls to do it. I know the answer to it. I want to know if he got the balls to go out there and get a quarterback. I really want to know if he got the balls to do it. I know he don't. I know the fuck he don't have the balls to do. I can guarantee you that. He don't have the balls to do it. He'll pay Goff again before he get. I'm telling y'all, he don't have the balls to do it. I guarantee you, he don't have the balls to do what Kansas City did. If he see a quarterback he don't have the balls to do it. You want to know what else? Martha don't want to pay 2 quarterbacks. So if you get a guy in the first round or she don't want to pay those guys. But I'm telling y'all, he don't have the balls to do it. I'm telling you, he doesn't have the balls to do it. I'm telling you, he don't got what it takes. All the chances that Dan Campbell take on 4th down, I have no problem with it, honestly. None whatsoever. But it showed me how much grit and fucking balls they have if they go out there and get a quarterback. I say what I do. I call Cincinnati up. What you want? I'll get them anything they wanted. I give Cincinnati anything they wanted. Whatever they wanted, Goff, J-Mo, St. Brown, I will figure it out. Sam Laporta, maybe the only guy I wouldn't give up was Jahmyr Gibbs. Other than Aiden Hutchinson. Other than that, what you want? Whether it's Brian Branch, whether it's the 1st, 2nd, 3rd next year, I give them whatever they wanted to get Joe Burrow. I'll call Mike Brown. I'll give him whatever the fuck he wanted. That's the first call I make. You want 1st and 2nd the next 2 years? You can have it. You want St. Brown? You can have him. I'll figure that shit out. You can find receivers a dime a dozen. You want J-Mo? You can have him. You want Laporta? You can have him. I got to pay him anyway. Bro, anybody not named Gibbs or Hutchinson, I would be willing to part ways with if I'm them. And I know y'all gonna kill me when y'all see that Kyler Murray video. I'm willing to do Kyler for Goff. I swear for God, I think Dan is the man that can get maturity out of Kyler. Because when you're talking about talent for talent, Goff can't fuck with Kyler Murray. Greatest high school football player in Texas history. Hit the link in the description. Check out Detroit Lions Talk playlist. Hit that link tree. You can find me everywhere. Peace.